I'm going to do what I want to do. Sing the music that I want.
Welcome to Ms. Mojo. And today, we're counting down our picks for the top 10 things Elvis 2022 got factually right and wrong.
I need to get back to who I really am. And who are you, Elvis?
For this list, we'll be looking at plot points from this 2022 biopic that were faithful to the king of rock and roll, and creative liberties that director Baz Luhrmann took. This entails a few spoilers. What are your thoughts on Elvis, both the film and the music legend himself? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. Colonel Tom Parker met Elvis during his carny days. Wrong. The film introduces Thomas Parker as a carny who stumbles upon his big break when he first hears Elvis.
Saw his effect as he was singing on the audience, mostly of women, girls and women, and realized he had this was perhaps the greatest carnival attraction on the planet Earth.
Although it is true that Parker initially assumed that Elvis was black, the dawn of their professional relationship has otherwise been exaggerated. In the movie, Parker guides Elvis through a hall of mirrors to a Ferris wheel. It's here that Parker becomes Elvis's manager, sending them on an unstable carnival ride.
Are you ready to fly?
I'm ready. Ready to fly.
In reality, Parker had already upgraded from carny to talent management, promoting artists like Tommy Sands, Eddie Arnold, and Hank Snow. While Elvis did open for Snow, the whole Ferris wheel conversation with Parker never happened. Parker also wasn't present at the show depicted in the film, where Elvis overcomes his performance jitters with some jiggling.
He was my destiny.
Number 9. Elvis performed Hound Dog to a hound. Right. With Elvis gyrating proving too risque for a clean-cut crowd, there was an attempt to introduce the new Elvis. The King unleashed a new persona on NBC's The Steve Allen Show, where he traded his usual attire for black tails and a bow tie.
It's not too often that I get to wear the suit and tails and all that stuff. But I think I have on something tonight that's not quite correct for evening wear.
Not quite formal. What's that, Elvis?
Blue suede shoes.
Elvis also sang Hound Dog to an actual basset hound dressed up like the Monopoly guy.
When I said you was high class, well, that was just a lie. Yeah, they said you was high class.
Although this is all depicted in the film, it suggested that Parker invented the new Elvis to keep the authorities off his back. It was really Steve Allen who insisted on the funny costume, the basset hound, and the new Elvis, as the TV host wasn't a fan of rock and roll. While Allen's role is downplayed here, Elvis indeed wasn't a fan of the idea.
You ain't never gonna rabbit. You ain't no friend of mine. You ain't nothing but a...
Number 8. Elvis's childhood lightning bolt accessory. Wrong. Luhrmann has said that his interpretation of Elvis isn't so much a biopic as it is a superhero film. The film thus draws inspiration from Elvis's favorite superhero, Captain Marvel Jr.
How do I look? Fresh.
No, we're not talking about the Marvel Comics character. We mean DC's Freddie Freeman, who's better known nowadays for his association with the Shazam family. Comic names can get confusing, but we digress.
Say my name.
Billy!
No, not my name. No, say the name that I say to turn into this guy.
In the movie, Elvis is such a Captain Marvel Jr. fan that he hangs a lightning bolt over his chest. Although Elvis didn't have an accessory like this as a child, he would pay tribute to his favorite hero through his haircut and half capes.
I could see the hair thing, using the hair, but I really wish he had worn a blue jumpsuit.
DC returned the favor in the comics, where Captain Marvel Jr. has professed his admiration for Elvis. Number 7. Young Elvis went to gospel church revival meetings. Right. Rock is rooted in African American music. With Elvis being such an integral figure in popularizing rock, it's not surprising that he grew up surrounded by the sound in a black community.
A time where the country was into racism and segregation, and here was a young kid. He was not afraid to go and be exposed to it so he could learn even more about it.
Elvis spent the first 12 years of his life in Tupelo, Mississippi. At one point, his struggling family moved to a mostly black neighborhood where gospel church music helped plant the seeds for the performer within.
Those Pentecostal preachers were pretty dynamic individuals, back and forth across the stage and shouting and raising their hands and being very theatrical.
Elvis remained respectful towards the African American community even after moving, although some would accuse Elvis of cultural appropriation. Others say that Elvis's music brought attention to a marginalized group. It's also been said that Elvis's music wasn't black, white, pop, or country, but something, quote, different.
The American teen just knew it rocked. No white music had ever done that.
In any case, Elvis knew he owed a debt to black musicians. Number 6. Priscilla's age when she met Elvis. Wrong. As depicted in the film, Parker saw an opportunity when Elvis was drafted by the U.S. Army, believing it would settle his rebellious attitude. Parker even had the media present when Elvis got his Army haircut. And yes, Elvis met his future wife Priscilla while serving overseas in Germany.
My father was stationed there, Air Force, and a man came up to me and said, "Would you like to meet Elvis Presley?" And I thought he was kidding. I said, "Sure."
In the film, though, the two are made out to be roughly around the same age. In real life, Elvis was in his 20s while Priscilla was 14 when they met. Despite an age difference of almost 10 years, the two spent a lot of time together until Elvis returned home.
I couldn't really even see him as a movie star anymore, but he was so much deeper.
Priscilla's parents allowed her to visit Elvis when she was around 17, and Priscilla moved to Memphis by the time she turned 18.
The gates of Graceland opened up. It was everything that he described. It was bigger than life for me.
Number 5. Parker was an illegal alien who changed his name. Right. For much of the film, Colonel Tom Parker is portrayed as an enigma.
As Baz Luhrmann said the very first time I met him, he wasn't a colonel, he wasn't a Tom, he wasn't even a Parker.
It's eventually revealed that he's a Dutch immigrant who came to the U.S. illegally, explaining why he doesn't want Elvis doing a world tour. Indeed, Elvis's manager was born Andreas Cornelis van Kock. Upon arriving in the States, he enlisted in the Army as Tom Parker, later being discharged. Parker gave himself the colonel rank while working on Jimmy Davis's governor campaign. When Elvis wanted to take his act to Japan, Australia, and beyond, Parker reportedly told him, quote, "If you go, I'm not gonna go with you."
He knew that he could do whatever he wanted to, and nobody told Elvis Presley what to do, because he was a very strong person, and we had a great relationship. But I took care of mine, he'd take care of his.
While it's hard to say if the authorities ever blackmailed Parker, his true nature didn't become public knowledge until after Elvis's death.
He was both a genius and a scoundrel. He was both a very disciplined man and also a guy that you might want to check your wallet to see if you still have all those 5s and 10s.
Number 4. How Elvis's 1968 comeback special went down. Wrong. 1968 was a crucial year for Elvis, with his televised comeback special marking his first live performance in 7 years. Although the film gets certain details about the special right, much of this chapter is tweaked for dramatic effect. While Elvis grew more enthusiastic about the project after talking to producer Bob Finkel, they didn't meet at the Hollywood sign. Parker was resolute about having at least one Christmas song in the special, but there wasn't an entire holiday set built that Elvis brushed off at the last second. Most notably, Robert F. Kennedy wasn't shot during the special's taping. However, Elvis was inspired by the assassinations of Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr., both of which occurred earlier that year.
Tragedy, but it has nothing to do with us.
It has everything to do with us.
Number 3. Parker took much of Elvis's income. Right.
There are some who'd make me out to be the villain of this here story.
Some say that Elvis might not have become a superstar without Parker. Others say that Parker held Elvis back, resulting in his star fading far too soon.
Whoever said that, that's fine. They can say what they want to. If I was them, if they know so much, they ought to go into management business.
While the film seems split down the middle about Parker, Luhrmann makes it no secret that Elvis's manager cheated him out of millions. It was customary for Parker to receive 50% of Elvis's earnings, although Parker argued that it was Elvis taking half of what he earned. Elvis was unable to end his working relationship with Parker due to financial reasons. Following Elvis's death, Memphis attorney Blanchard Toole deemed that Parker's 50% was more than what the average manager received, and that in the past 3 years alone, Parker defrauded Presley's estate between $7 million and $8 million.
He did his part, I did mine, and there is no answer for that.
Number 2. Elvis fired Parker while performing on stage. Wrong. According to the film, the dynamic between Presley and Parker erupted during a live Vegas performance. Having learned that Parker's been lying, Elvis fires him in front of the audience. There's little backing this melodramatic blow-up, although there is some truth in there.
There was the bond, but they were two very different people.
Elvis outgrew Colonel Parker as an artist, but he didn't know how to cut the strings.
In 1973, Elvis became enraged when the Hotel Hilton fired the maitre d' Mario, whose wife was suffering from cancer. When Elvis didn't get anywhere with Parker, he verbally attacked Baron Hilton from the stage. Parker and Elvis got into a shouting match after, with the latter firing his manager. In response, Parker quit, but it'd take $2 million to buy him out of his contract. After 2 weeks, Elvis and his father saw no choice but to take Parker back.
We are the same, you and I. We are two odd, lonely children reaching for eternity.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Elvis was in talks for A Star Is Born. Right. When Parker insisted his client get top billing, Chris Christopherson got the role. I Hate Elvis buttons. Right. Parker cleverly capitalized on his client's haters. Hi, Dr. Nick. Right. George C. Nicopolis overprescribed Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, and other patients.
Says the scandal could have done in a lesser man.
It could have destroyed him totally. But I will say this for him, he kept his head up. And pretty much his mouth shut.
Elvis's father was imprisoned. Right. Vernon Presley did time for altering a check.
Thankfully, he doesn't have to spend the 3 years. He only spends 6 months in prison. But what it does is it starts a pattern of Vernon being away and Elvis and Gladys being left to their own devices.
Elvis's mother died during his basic training. Right. He received emergency leave after she was diagnosed with hepatitis.
And when his mother died, he left a hole in him. He was never whole again, as it were.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest video.